Greetings, math fans. All right, so this is day 5 warm-up. It's just a couple extra problems to practice the different types of factoring. So again, remember we have, as we listed right here, we have greatest common factor, we have difference of two squares, or we have trinomial. Okay? So that's the first thing you have to do is in the blank, write what it is, and then actually do it. All right, so let's get started here. Number 1. 6x squared minus 3x. You guys should look at this and look, there's a greatest common factor. Always, remember I told you this, always look for greatest common factor first. So my greatest common factor for this one is 3x. Okay, so it's GCF and it's 3x. You know it's 3x because that's basically you look for the smallest exponent, which is x, and the smallest number that goes into it, which 3 goes into 6 and 3 goes into 3 evenly. So I'm going to divide each of these by 3x. So I get 3x, and then parentheses I get 6 divided by 3 is 2, x squared over x is x. So 3x minus, and those don't just cancel. I mean, it does, but then you need to have a placeholder. Okay, so the deal is here, math fans, if there are two terms that you're factoring your greatest common factor out, there are two terms that are going to be inside the parentheses as well. Okay, you can check this as well, you can distribute it, and you would get 6x squared minus 3x to double check your work. Okay, cool. This you guys should recognize as a perfect square, and a minus sign. So it is definitely a difference of two squares, dots. Okay, and then that gets factored to square root of x squared is x, square root of 25 is 5, then plus and minus. Okay. The next one is a trinomial. And that trinomial is x and x, and then it's plus and plus because this is plus, and then they have to be the same side, so they're both positive. And 10 gives you 5 and 2, or 10 and 1, and 5 plus 2 is 7. So it's 5 and 2, and that's your answer. Okay, 100 is a perfect square. There's a minus sign, and x to the 8th. Remember, any even power is a perfect square. So this is a difference of two squares. So if you factor this out, you get x to the 4th, half of it. 100 is 10 and negative 10. And that's your answer. X to the 4th plus 10, x to the 4th minus 10. Okay, number 5, I can factor out of 4. Definitely greatest common factor. So I get 4, and then in parentheses I get x squared minus 3. And you can't do anything with that, because it's a minus 3, and 3 is not a perfect square. So that is your answer. Okay, this is a difference of two squares, dots, and basically square root of 4x squared is 2x and 2x. The square root of 9 is 3 and 3, and then plus or minus. That's it. You can FOIL out and check it if you want. Okay, number 7, definitely a trinomial. So we factor this and we get x and x. It's minus, so it's plus minus. And then 10, again, you have to add it or really subtract to give you 10. Well, the 16 can be 8 and a 2. It can be a 4 and a 4. Or it can be 16 and a 1. Okay? And you look at it and you're like, I think it's 8 and the 2. Do you guys agree with that? But since these are opposite signs, they have to subtract to give you 10. That's why you can't say, oh, this is 8 and this is 2, because negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Okay? Now I want to point something out, which was right at the beginning here. Let me go up here. It says in green, I'll highlight it, it says some of them may be prime. Prime means basically can't factor. That's what prime is. Okay? So we go back to our original problem. And since this one actually you can't factor it because there's no two numbers that give you 16, where you subtract it that gives you 10. Like here, I mean 4 minus 4 is 0, 16 minus 1 is 15, 8 minus 2 is 6, so that doesn't give you that, and so this one can't do it, so can't factor. Again, we call it prime. Okay? Okay, so the next one, definitely greatest common factor. So we're going to divide each of these by 3x, 3x, and 3x. So I get x squared minus 2x plus 8. Okay? And again, some of you guys might say, well, let me see if I can get a number that multiplies to give you 8 and adds to give you 2. There isn't any. Okay? And the reason there's none is because 8 is just 4 and 2, or 8 and 1. And none of these subtract. They have to be the same sign. That's the key here. None of these subtract where it's like 4 plus 2 is 6, and 8 plus 1 is 9, and I need a 2, so it doesn't work. So truly my answer, I've kind of scribbled this already here, but this is my answer, guys. It is 3x times x squared minus 2x plus 8. That's your final answer, which is fine. Okay, it's just you can't factor any more. But we're not even doing that until next chapter. Okay, so we factored the greatest common factor out. All right, so let's do a few more here. X squared plus 49, can't do it because of the plus. So we say this one's prime. And that's a perfect square. And 225, if you're not sure, take the square root of it. Square root of 225 is 15. Okay, so let me just write, this is dots, D-O-T-S, difference of two squares. That if I factor this, square root of 225 is 15, 15. Square root of x squared is x and x, and then plus minus. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, let's do 11. This is definitely a trinomial. And it's x and x. And what two numbers? This is a pretty limited one, 11 and 2, or 22 and 1. Well, 11 plus 2 is 13, so it's plus 11 plus 2. That's your answer. Okay, same thing is a trinomial. Always look for greatest common factor if you can first. You get x and x. The signs are opposite. X plus and x minus. And 21 gives you 7 and 3, or 21 and 1. And so think about it. 7 minus 3 is 4. So the 4 is positive. That means the 7 is positive. So 7 and 3. That's how you factor that. Okay, and again, you can FOIL it out to check it if you wanted to give you x squared plus 4x minus 21. Okay, 13. Perfect square, minus sign, take the square root of 196, you get 14. So there you go. So this is dots. So it would be x and x, be 14 and 14, but then it's plus and minus. Okay, so number 14, you got to look for greatest common factor. Now, basically I see a 5 goes into 15 and 55, and then I'm looking for my smallest exponent for x is x squared, and my smallest exponent for y is y cubed. Okay, so it's GCF with 5x squared y cubed. Okay, so I divide that out, I get 5x squared y cubed, parenthesis, this is just going to give me 3y, because the x squareds cancel, and 5 over 15 is 3, and then y to the fourth over y cubed is y. This is 55 over 5 is going to be 11, and then x squared over x to the sixth over x squared is x to the fourth, and y cubed over y cubed is just gone. So this is actually our final answer, guys. It looks complicated, but it's greatest common factor. Okay, so this is a trinomial. Okay, and so we have x and x multiplies to give you a positive number, so it's plus plus. And then 7 really can only be 7 and 1. That's all it can be, to multiply. Well, it's impossible because if I do 7 and 1, that's got to be 8, and it's actually a 6. So this is out of here. This is prime. Okay, 16, our greatest common factor, which it is, right? You can see that you can take a 10 out of there. And also the smallest exponent is x to the fifth. So basically, 10x to the fifth, and then parentheses, I have 20 divided by 10 is 2, so that's fine. The x to the fifths cancel out at minus 3, and then x to the eighths almost cancel out. That's your answer. 10x to the fifth times 2 minus 3x cubed. Okay, move that parenthesis over a little bit more, make it look a little bit neater, and that's it. Okay. Next one is definitely a greatest common factor. Where is it? Nothing goes into 15 and 2. Not a perfect square. Minus sign. This one has an x to the fourth. That has an x to the fourth. This one's actually prime. Can't do anything with it. Okay. And then the last one, this is a trinomial. So it's x and x. What multiplies to give you 64? 8 and 8. Okay, then they're positive signs. Does 8x plus 8x is 16x? Yepper. That's it. Okay, so this is, again, just more practice problems on the different types of factoring, and hopefully you guys are good with this and get this mastered, all right? That's it, math fans. Have an outstanding day. Adios. Goodbye.